Well, hello, it's Troy, and welcome to a new video format which I like to call A Cup of Tea with Troy. Cheers. And the reason I'm doing this is basically I ripped it off from Pearl, my friend, and the great content creator Pearl of Just Pearly Things. Because she's got a segment, I think it's called A Cup of Coffee with Pearl, or something similar to that. And she'll just do a little riff to camera, she'll talk about a topic, or do some little updates and stuff like that. And I was thinking, look, Pearl's got a shed load of subscribers. I think she's on 700,000 now, maybe more, coming up to 1 million. She obviously knows what she's doing. She knows YouTube. So I thought I'll rip this off. But more importantly than that, I thought what the channel has been missing perhaps in the last sort of 8 months, 10 months or so, has been a kind of meta sort of discussion from me about what we're doing and why we're doing it and everything else. So, and I want to firstly do some little updates, a little bit of a discussion about the channel and where it's heading, and then I'm going to talk briefly about a topic that I've got for today as well, which is around the fact that dating skills aren't intuitive. As much as we might think they are, they're really not intuitive. So I'm going to talk about that, but just focusing on the channel for a second. So I think this year's been really good for the channel. We've gone up by a significant number of subscribers, and I've had some of my most popular videos within this year, okay, within 2022. And most of those videos, the really popular ones, were ones I did kind of earlier in the year, in the first quarter to the first half of the year, which were really miserable. And it was me walking around London and me talking to a camera and being sort of like gloomy and existential and basically saying how dating's a waste of time and don't bother doing it, and how I'm getting fed up with it and guys in general are getting fed up with it. And everyone loves those videos. And then when I come on and I'm really trying to be motivational and I try to be sort of like, no guys, get out there, you've got to take action, you've only got one life, then it gets no views. So I suppose that says something about, well, the modern world that we all inhabit, right? And to sort of explain myself, the sort of differential between those two viewpoints, I kind of vacillate between the two. I do think that dating is very problematic. And also as well, look, I mean, I'm an older guy, and your appetites change, you know, your priorities change. And really, the focus of this channel is to help older guys, somewhat older guys, and look, women, welcome as well, and younger guys as well, of course. But I suppose I'm focusing the content largely, or a lot of the content's focused at sort of slightly older guys, just because I fall into that demographic myself, and those are the people that I can best help, and those are the people that come to me most for advice. So I'm focusing the content at those people, and there are various different strands to this. Part of it is educational. So part of it is to say, okay, so look, you want to get into dating, you don't want to have a barren, sexless, miserable existence while you're just waiting to die for the next remaining however many decades you've got. You want to get out there. So how do you do that? Okay, so there's partly an instructional aspect to this stuff, of course, which is, you know, what are the 3 things you can say to a girl in the queue at Starbucks? Or, you know, how do you introduce yourself to a woman you've never met before when you're at a party? You know, there's part of that kind of stuff. But let's be honest, all of that has been done to death on my channel and many other channels over the years. So that's a part of what I'm here to do, the instructional part of things. But there's also a motivational piece. There's also an aspirational piece to some extent. And there's also, I think, for me personally as a content creator, there's a more reflective element to this as well, where I reflect on my own life. I reflect on some of the experiences that I've had, both contemporary experiences and experiences further back in the past, and I muse on those things, and hopefully that gives some insight to other people, or it allows other people to think about things that they've gone through that have been similar, or it evokes feelings in those people, and it just helps us all to sort of understand a little bit more about relationships and life and where we're all going with this stuff, okay? And, you know, at my advanced age, in my late 40s, I remain unmarried. You know, I haven't been married. I don't have kids. I've had long-term relationships. I've been in these long-term relationships, so I've had times away from the dating marketplace. But essentially, really, I find myself in a quite unusual position of being somebody who really has just, like, dated throughout their entire life. And so that brings a lot of value to people that I work with because, for a start, I've been doing it for a long time, so for better or worse, I've got some knowledge to bear on this subject. But also, I've seen a lot of changes in the dating marketplace, because obviously when I entered into it, there was no smartphones, there was no Instagram, there was no Tinder, there was none of this stuff. And we've seen the transformation now of the dating market to what it is now. So I bring all of that to the table. But in terms of the actual content itself, so yes, there's an educational element. There's an element of, well, you shouldn't text her too quickly if she doesn't text you. You shouldn't write more in a text message than she writes to you. You should match her levels of investment. There's sort of instructional stuff like that. But I think increasingly the more important part, and certainly the part that seems to resonate with people more of what I do, is these more reflective pieces where we're talking about, okay, but what's the bigger picture here? What are we aiming for? Are we aiming for long-term relationships, right, as older guys? Do we want to get married? Do we want to have a shot at the Disney dream or the American dream? Or do we think, well, it hasn't worked out for us so far, it hasn't worked out for people around us, so we're going to park that. But if we park that, then what are we going to do then? Okay, what's the alternative? Is there an alternative? All right. Yes, it's moving to Colombia. No, I'm only joking. But we look at, okay, so if we're putting aside the conventional route, then what's the other route, and how possible is that for an older guy? And I believe it's very, very possible. But it's all work in progress, right? And as I learn more about this, and as I reflect more on all of this stuff, and I have more experiences, and I travel more, and I meet more people, of my own age, and guys older than me who are still dating and doing different things, I'm able to bring that to you and help you as you consider this sort of aspect of your life, okay? Because if you're watching this, it's likely that you are a guy, perhaps you're an older guy in their later 30s or 40s or 50s and beyond, and maybe you've come out of a relationship, maybe you've been in a divorce, or maybe you've never had a sizable long-term relationship, and you're thinking, well, what now? And that's really what we're all engaged with here, okay? So, and as I say, what seems to be very popular with people, and I know this from the viewing figures and also from the engagement, and also from messages that I get privately, people who DM me or email me or whatever, are these more reflective videos and the walking videos. People seem to really like these walking videos I do when I'm wandering around some random city, having people staring at me while I'm talking to the camera about some existential issue or other. I know people like those, so we're going to keep doing those, and we're going to be pumping out more of those as we go into 2023, but it will be balanced with some of the other stuff, so some of the instructional stuff, and also some of the things that you guys don't like very much, which are things like the videos where you see us taking clients out, you'll see us instructing clients, and where in some of the interviews or conversations with other content creators. Okay, so with the clients, those things for some reason don't get huge viewing figures, they don't get huge engagement, but it's important for me to put them out there because we've got to show proof of concept. All right, we've got to show that I'm out there actually walking the walk. As well as talking the talk on these videos, and showing how this stuff is transformative for guys that I work with. Okay, so those will continue to go out as well. And looking at, again, the analytics, it seems like some of the relentless live streaming we were doing with interviews with other content creators and other dating coaches and that sort of stuff aren't as popular. And I did a poll recently on the channel as well. You may have taken part in that poll where I asked people what they wanted. And the thing that came out the top was me walking around doing existential videos. After that, infill breakdowns, a few other bits and pieces. And then coming towards the bottom were videos with other content creators. So I hear that. I'm mindful of that. We're still going to have some, because I think sometimes there's some important conversations to be had amongst people who work in this space. And I've done content recently with Pearl. I've done content with Ali from Real Femme Sapien. I've got some more content coming up with another female content creator soon, and some other stuff planned. So there's loads more to come, but it's going to be focused away from that and more towards my solo stuff, which I know you guys like. I do think, however, that we should bring back some live streaming, because I haven't really been live streaming solo to this channel for quite a long time. And I do think we should bring that back, maybe just once a week. But I think the value of the live streams was that it allowed me to update you in almost real time about what's going on and give some sort of commentary. Because the thing that strikes me at the moment is that you're watching the channel and there's all these videos of me talking about these different existential things, but there's not much commentary that's tying it all together. So that's what I'm trying to address here. and it's also what we'll be addressing, doing some live streams going forward. So we'll have some Q&As. I'll try and advertise it ahead of time so you guys can have questions and come to the Q&A and we can talk about different things. But as I say, the focus will be on these videos, particularly the walking videos, where I'm going into more depth about the bigger picture of all of this stuff. Anyway, a lot of waffling there. To put some meat on the bone here, I thought I would talk about something that has really struck me quite forcibly this year. And this year I've done a lot of travelling to different places, particularly Poland. You know, we spent a long time in Poland, myself and Tusk, and Mr. M was over there for a bit, and various other people, and we taught loads and loads of students. We toured around loads of different cool places in Poland. It's fantastic. A lot of time in Warsaw, but all these other towns as well: Krakow, Lublin, Łódź, where else? Some other places, Gdansk. Fantastic times. I've also been to Tbilisi in Georgia. I have been to Bogota in Colombia. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Bucharest. I've been all sorts of places this year, okay? And I've taught a lot of students, both live and also in my own online coaching program, and sometimes both of those things. And what insights have I drawn from that as we come to the end of 2022? Well, the key insight I think that I've drawn from it is that this dating stuff is counterintuitive. It's not intuitive for the majority of men. Okay, it's not intuitive for most guys out there, and maybe women as well, but certainly for guys, it's not intuitive what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Now, obviously, channels and blogs and podcasts and so on about dating skills aimed at men have been around for quite a long time now. We're talking about nearly 20 years, right, of this sort of content. And even before then, obviously, there was still content about it in book form or whatever. But, you know, as we know it today, this stuff's been around for a long time, okay? Certainly since the publication of the game, which was in, 2004, 2005. So it's been around for a long time. And so therefore, sometimes the naysayers, you know, the critics will come onto a video and in the comments underneath, like, oh, you're talking about that stuff again, everyone knows that, blah, blah, blah. And it might be something like, don't go for dinner on the first date. Or it might be something like, well, the old chestnuts, do you pay for drinks, do you not pay for drinks? You know, what kind of date do you take her on for the first date? Do you call her, do you message her? All of these different things. Are these questions that come up time and time again. And guys who are critical of dating coaches and people who make this content will say, well, we all know this stuff already. Why are you banging on about that again? Haven't you got anything else to talk about? But those commentators don't, I can guarantee, coach real guys in real life. So they don't know the issues that people out there on the ground are facing. And I can assure you, from many conversations that I've had with guys that I've worked with this year, and last year as well, but this year predominantly, is that even very fundamental aspects of dating and what you should do, how you should conduct yourself, how the dance between the genders is conducted in a way that is meaningful and beautiful and fruitful, is unknown to these guys. They get very key things wrong. They're not aware, they're not cognizant of certain concepts that people who are very seasoned in this kind of content think are very obvious. They're just not cognizant of those things at all. And they make very elementary mistakes. Now, I'm not throwing shade by saying any of that. I'm not throwing any shade at all, right? I mean, these are highly intelligent guys that I work with for the most part, often very successful guys, okay? Because I remember the people I work with most tend to be slightly older. They tend to be professionals. They tend to be people who've done very well in a career or in making a business for themselves, but perhaps haven't fared as well with the social and dating stuff, okay? So these are very intelligent people, but they're not cognizant of some of the very basic elements and nuances, really, of dating. And so we can say something that on the surface, you know, I may understand, you might understand, another dating coach may understand. We can say something like, well, you've got to be man to woman in an interaction. You've got to bring an element of flirtation and eroticism into your interaction with the woman that you like, because otherwise, how's she going to know that you're interested in that way, and you might risk getting put into the dreaded friend zone. Okay, so we can say that on a video as an overarching concept, and people sort of get it, or they nod and they pay lip service to it. But then you see how they manifest that when in actual reality. Okay, when they are interacting with a woman in real life in a coffee shop or a bar or whatever, when they're messaging her, when they're going on a date with her, we get insight into how they're actually articulating this stuff in the real world. And often it's very off kilter with what we actually meant, if that makes sense. Because, as I say, a lot of this stuff is somewhat not intuitive. Okay, it needs to be explained to you. And it needs to sometimes be demonstrated, and you sometimes need a mentor so that you can try some of the stuff and have them look over what you're doing and give you some tweaks and prods in the right direction. Okay. Often with guys that I work with in real life, when we go out together and we spend some time together and I coach them, it's often not that they're doing huge, massive things wrong. They're often doing most things kind of right, but there's a few little bits and pieces that they are sort of just misfiring on, and that's ruining their interactions, and they're not getting the results that they could otherwise get. So, as I say, I think, and even for me, as somebody who has studied this stuff for a long time and has worked in this space for a long time, and I've been dating myself for a long time and so on, even for me, there can be a tendency sometimes to think, well, all of these things are very obvious and everyone kind of knows that, and everyone knows that, just take her for drinks on the first date, don't go to the cinema, and things like that, or don't go to Nando's on the first date, for God's sake, like I had to tell my friend once. Very, very fundamental, basic things, but it's just amazing how many guys, they just don't really, either they haven't watched the wealth of content that's out there, or they just, it's, and why should they, after all? I mean, like, they've got lives, they've got other more important things to do. So they're not cognizant of these things, and these aren't things that come necessarily instinctually to us. We need to be taught them, okay? And I think if 2022's shown me anything, it's really driven home that point to me, how necessary some of this content is and how necessary a discussion around this stuff is. Because, as I say, this stuff isn't obvious to many guys. And many guys are suffering in their dating and social lives as a result of that, okay? So the purpose of this channel is, yes, to be entertaining, yes, to hopefully provide some chin-stroking, existential, thoughtful moments, and that's actually a very important part of what we're doing here. But it's also really just to help guys like you to not make very basic mistakes that I've made and everybody else that I know really has made, because a lot of this stuff isn't intuitive, okay? So that's really the purpose of what we're doing here. It's really trying to help guys with things that actually are very basic, but if you can fix them, will significantly improve your dating life, your social life, and your general life as a result, okay? Because we want to get those things in line. So that's what we're about. That's what we're doing here. Little rant for today. Little cup of green tea. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this format. If you have any comments to make, put them in the box below. Give me a like. Obviously, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And tell me the kind of content you want to see. Tell me the kinds of videos that you want to be made to go onto this channel. And we'll look at putting it into the mix, okay? As I say, I think looking at the feedback we've had, the focus will be on the walking videos, on the existential videos, on the videos that look at the bigger picture, plus a decent dose of the instructional stuff as well, because we need that, plus a bit of motivation and a little bit of aspiration as well, going to some cool places, showing you what's out there, showing you the possibilities beyond the 9 to 5, beyond the cubicle, so you can have a look at that and have a think about the whole lifestyle element of this as well. But anyway, thank you ever so much, everybody who's watched the videos this year, everyone who's interacted with me, everyone who's given me comments and encouragement and haters and everybody else, just thank you. And as we go into this festive season, remember, you're not alone out there. If you have questions about your dating life, if this is an area of concern for you, you can book a call with me, free call, no obligation or anything like that. We'll just get on the phone for 10, 15, 20 minutes. We'll have a chat about your situation, and I will let you know if it's something I can help with, and if it isn't, I'll point you in the right direction. To get on that call, just drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can book a link in my calendar, or rather you can book a date in my calendar. The link is below. I'll leave it there for now. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.